Welcome to our therapeutic or chair class this morning. So our theme for this whole session was inspired by how I was kind of feeling over the holidays, which was not very vitalized. And so the word that kept coming to me was vitality, and realizing that sitting on my couch, eating a few too many Christmas treats was not making me feel very energetic or very alive. And so I really wanted to kind of focus on what was going to help me to sort of move through that slump period over the holidays of just kind of sinking into the couch. You maybe know the feeling. And so there's many ways that we can feel more vital in our bodies. And I'm sure that all of you know, to some extent, what makes you feel good and what makes you feel not so good, right? So for me, making sure I get enough water, enough sleep, enough exercise. I mean, not for me, for everybody, we all need those things. But focusing on little things that I can do rather than overwhelming myself with the big picture, right? It would be really easy to say, just get off the couch and go exercise and do this and do that. But if it's too much all at once, we're not going to commit to it. We're not going to do it. So I know that you're committed to your own health, your mental health, your physical health, your well-being, because you signed up for this series. And so we're going to work together to just little bit by little bit sort of increase the sense of vitality that we carry around with us. And so when we feel good, when we feel in flow with ourselves, there's that feeling that things just kind of unfold naturally and easily. And then there's other times where it feels like we're always hitting brick walls when we kind of try to move forward in our lives. So we're going to really just focus on gentle movement today, getting the body sort of cleared of the guck of the holidays and get the blood flowing in our bodies, and through that, work on feeling more revitalized in our systems. So we're going to start seated. So you can, again, sit on a chair, sit on the floor, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm going to grab my chair and I'll see you there. So nice, comfortable seat, and starting out by feeling your sit bones on whatever you're sitting on. So feeling that your weight is evenly planted from one side to the other. And you can kind of rock a little side to side if you like, and find that place where you're sitting evenly on your two sit bones. And let's take a moment to simply check in with where we're at right now. So we'll know what kind of effect the practice has had by checking in at the end as well and seeing what maybe has shifted along the way. So if you like, you can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Let your hands rest in your lap or on your knees, to your sides, wherever they're comfortable. And try little micro movements. So we did a little side to side to try and find our weight evenly on the two sides of the sit bones. And then try rocking just a little bit forward, a little bit back. And see if you can find an even place between those two, forward and back, and so you feel like you're nicely balanced. And then little tiny circles around that center. So one side forward, the other side, moving back. It's really tuning into your base of support. And then you can switch directions, little circles the other way, circling around that foundational point. And then let's come back to the center. The spine is the central support for our bodies. And when the spine is kind of slumped over, it compresses the lungs, compresses all of the internal organs, in fact. And as a result, we feel less energetic, less sort of alive. So getting some space around the organs, letting them do their jobs with all our organs move. So our lungs and heart, obvious, right? The lungs are going with the breath, the heart is pumping the blood. And as a result, we have a lot more energy in the system. So we're going to work a little bit with the spine. You can coordinate your breath with this movement if you find that helpful. It's not a requirement at all. You can also just breathe normally, however works for you. So the movement is simple. It's arching the back, so letting the chest come forward, and then rounding the back, letting the head come down. So if you want to coordinate your breathing, you're going to inhale as you lift the chest, exhale as you round the back. Do that a few times, moving at your own pace. Again, if you want to coordinate breathing, inhale as you lift and come into a little arch. Exhale as you round, or just breathe freely. And then let's come back to the center. Let's close the eyes again. Again, you can always leave your eyes open if that's more comfortable. And just take a moment to tune in. What do you notice now? What are you aware of? So then just a little bit of movement. Keep gently opening up the joints and moving the body this morning. So arms down at your sides, lift the shoulders up, roll them back and down. And then again, lift and roll back and down. Make the movement as big or as small as feels right for you. So it's all about feeling good in your body, not about making any particular form, not looking any particular way, but just really experiencing the movement, altering it, making it smaller if need be. And then you can try rolling one shoulder and then rolling the other shoulder. Let your body sway a little with that movement. And then let's come back to the center. So work a little bit with the neck now, and I want to just really remind you that the neck can be quite delicate, so not to force or push the neck in any way, and if it's not comfortable, again, make the movement smaller and move them into a realm that feels good for you. So starting by turning the head to one side, and you'll come to a point where you feel just a little bit of restriction, and you're going to stop there, so you're not forcing your neck beyond that little gentle restriction. And then try the other side. So you'll feel that point where the neck naturally wants to stop moving, and you'll honor that and stay. And then come back to the center. And let's go to the first side again. And we'll make a little sweeping circle coming down across the front of the chest, coming to one side, and then coming back and over to the other side. So you can go side to side like that a few times. And I encourage you to notice if you're holding tension elsewhere in your body. So one way that we sort of clamp down on our vitality is through holding tension. So we can increase our vitality either through adding exercise or better food or more water, more sleep. We can also increase our vitality by letting go of things that create tension and stress, right? That holding in the body. We can't eliminate all stress. We do need to learn to live with it, work with it, but the stress that we don't need, can we let go of? And eventually bringing your head back to the center, letting the chin drop down. You can let the arms hang down. If you're on a chair, they can just hang at your sides or to the floor if you're seated on the ground. And then from here, we'll lift the arms as we lift the head. And you only want to bring your head to neutral. You don't want to look at the ceiling here. And then lower the arms down. So really tune into your shoulders, how they feel here. So you might not lift quite as high. If there's any tension or holding in your shoulders, you might bend the elbows to the sides if that's more comfortable. And again, if you want to coordinate your breathing here, inhale as you lift. Exhale as you lower, and your pace may be quite different from mine. Please follow your own breath. We're all unique, we're all different. All right, let's bring the arms up into this goalpost position or cactus position and draw the elbows back. And you can bring them slightly down, just make sure you're not creating tension here. And then bringing the hands together, and maybe the elbows come together as well. And then opening and together. So follow your own pace, whatever feels comfortable to you. And again, if you want to coordinate breathing, inhale as you open, exhale as you come together. All right, and then arms to the sides. Let's stretch the arms out. Turn your palms toward the ceiling. You can bend and lower your arms if you feel any tension in your arms or shoulders. And if it feels good, you can stretch the arms out wide. Feel a bit of stretch up the arms. I feel it right up into my shoulders here. You might as well. Then again, you might not because we're all different. Right, and then turn the palms down and then turn the palms back. And then we're going to lower and reach back with the arms. And they might just come parallel to one another behind you. You might take a hold of your chair. You might reach your hands and clasp them together and lift the heart wherever you're at and take a few breaths. So we're not trying to force the breath into the body, but allowing the breath to naturally move into that greater space that we've just created in the front of the body. And then slowly release the arms. You can bring the hands back onto the thighs. Again, either close your eyes or just soften your gaze to tune in and check in once more. So noticing what you feel around the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the arms. Just tuning into what you're feeling right in this moment. There's no right or wrong. Now let's work a little bit with the hands. Let's circle the wrists. I also encourage you to notice if you hold your breath, it's so easy to forget to breathe when we're doing some movement, especially if it's something unfamiliar to you. Circle the hands each way. And then let's make the hands into fists, holding the palms forward. And then spread the hands wide. And then squeeze and open. Squeeze and open. And again, if you want to coordinate breathing, exhale as you squeeze in, inhale as you open. Good. And then give them a shake. And again, let your hands come to rest on your thighs or in your lap, and notice how your hands and wrists feel from just that very little bit of movement. So for me, I'm aware of a little bit of a tingling feeling in my hands. Feels kind of, not quite pins and needles, but just a little sort of sparkling energy in my hands. You may notice something similar, you may notice something completely different. Right, let's move a little more with the body now. So taking the hands to the sides, and we'll lift up with the breath in. And we're going to come forward now, bringing the hands onto the thighs and letting the body hinge forward at the hips, coming any amount forward that feels good. And then you'll lift up and come forward again. So again, optionally, if you want to coordinate your breathing, inhale as you lift up and exhale as you come forward. Great, and then coming up this time, we'll stay upright. Bring the hands to the thighs. And if you're sitting on a chair, you might want to take your legs a little bit wider so you have a better base of support here. So we're going to lean a little bit to the sides as we circle around. And we're going to take the torso towards one side, bring it forward, and towards the other side. And you can make your circles really small, if that feels good for you, or you can make them a little bit bigger. And you can also vary the size, really tune into what feels good for you. So the bigger my circles are, the more I'm feeling sort of stretch in the back side of my hips and lower back. Feels good for me, but if it feels like too much stretch for you in any direction, just make your circles smaller. You can switch directions as well. See how that changes things. So we move our bodies, we increase circulation, we open up spaces that may have been held or tense, and as a result, the energy moves more freely in the body, and we feel revitalized in general. I can't promise you're going to feel one way or another by doing a class, but that is generally, as we move our bodies, they're designed to move. Sitting is considered the new smoking, not at all good for us. So when we move our bodies, we're increasing our vitality. Great, let's come back to the center. Find that point again on the sit bone. So you're sitting side to side, you're even, front to back, you're even. And see if you can find a sense of your torso just gently growing up out of your pelvis. So it's almost this effortless rising, like a plant rising, like an amaryllis that grows at Christmas time. It just seems to grow so quickly and so effortlessly. And you can even imagine that beautiful bloom at the top of your head. And just like the plant, we gather nourishment from the soil, from the earth, by being grounded, by being supportive. And we get lots of nourishment from the sun, vitamin D, which is considered to be such an important vitamin right now for our immune system. And we get that from the sun, that idea of opening and receiving the light. Let's come back to that cat-cow movement for the spine that we did earlier in the class. So inhale, if you're coordinating breath, arching the back. Exhale, gently rounding, being very gentle with this movement. If it feels at all uncomfortable, smaller is better. Okay, and then coming back to that neutral seated position. You can take one hand to the floor if you're on the floor, just placing it on the ground somewhere where you can support yourself, or hand on the chair. Again, if you're on a chair, legs wide for good support here. You don't want to go off the chair, and you really want to keep your weight on both sit bones. So you're not, when we tip to the side, you're not lifting one cheek, but keeping both sit bones anchored. And then the action is a lifting up and a little bit over. So one hand on the floor chair, the other arm reaches up, sinking down into your sit bones, and then reach very slowly and gently to one side so you feel a little bit of stretch, and then come up. You can release the arm down, and then we'll again lift, same side, sit down into your sit bones, lift up through the arm, and then a little bit over just until you feel a little stretch. We're going really slowly just to really tune in, and you can come up and release. We'll do one more on this side and maybe stay for a couple of breaths. So again, up and a little bit over. You can bend the arm that's on the ground so you're not jamming your shoulder up. And then breathing into that space from the armpit to the hip. Imagine you could send your breath into that side. Increase the amount of space. If you ever notice when you feel stressed, there's often a feeling of being compressed, like there's not enough space, not enough time. And when we feel good in our bodies, let's come up to the center and release. Hands to the thighs. We'll do a few rounds of cat-cow, breathing in as we arch, exhaling, rounding. You might notice the difference between your two sides. Saying when we feel good in our bodies, we feel expanded, we feel lighter, we feel more open. We can't be there all the time, but we can do certain things to help us to be more in that space more often. Next time you come to the center to a nice neutral spine, stay there, press down into your sit bones, lift through the crown of your head, the other hand then to the floor or to the chair, whatever's going to help support you. Reaching up with the opposite arm, sinking down as we reach up. And this could be your position with your arm, if that's more comfortable, whatever works for you. And then a little bit to the side, supporting yourself with the hand that's on the chair or the ground, and then back up and release. We'll do that again, just really tuning in. Always moving slowly so we don't move past that point of feeling good, and then come back up. And then the last time we might stay for a couple of breaths as long as that feels comfortable for you. you're coming just a little to the side until you feel that first sort of, oh, there's a little bit of stretch, and then breathing from the armpit to the hip. Know that you're always welcome to come out of the pose anytime if it doesn't feel right for you. So you don't have to hold it just because I say so. Your body is your teacher. Let's come back up to the center now. Hands to the thighs. And again, we'll come into that cat-cow movement. Inhaling, arching, exhaling, and rounding. Lovely. All right, coming once more to that neutral position. Again, you can close your eyes if that helps you go inward and notice. You're feeling what's present now in your body in terms of sensation. So we've really worked from the waist up. And see if you're aware of any shift in your feeling of energy. You may not notice, there may be no difference. You may even feel more tired when you start to move sometimes if you've been sedentary for a while. So there's no special way that you need to feel. It's really about tuning in and being present with yourself. So we'll add one more movement for the spine before we change positions, and that's a twist. So the spine naturally moves forward and back, which we've done with our cat-cow, to the side, which we just did with our side bend, and then the twist. So it's our first twist of the day, being very, very gentle with your spine and not putting any force or leverage into the twist. So we'll start with the arms raising up, breathing in. And as you exhale, both hands come to one side, either to the chair and the leg, or to the hip and the leg, or to the floor if you're on the floor. And then without putting pressure, so that the hands are just sitting there, you can turn your head to gently look behind you. Keep the spine nice and long, and then we'll come back to the center. If I ever talk too much and don't tell you to breathe, please keep breathing. And if you're coordinating breath here, you're going to inhale to the center, exhale to either side. So when we move the spine, it's like kind of giving a little energy boost to the system. Like the spinal cord housed within the spine. I'm trying to bring the spine into its natural alignment so the energy flows all through the body. You can keep moving dynamically if this feels good for you, or now if you like, you can stay for a few breaths each side. So again, you're not putting leverage, you're not pulling against your body or the floor, you're just placing the hand, turning to look behind you, softening your shoulders, lengthening up through the crown of your head, and taking a couple of breaths there. When you're ready, we'll switch, we'll come back to the center, and then to the other side. So again, a few breaths here without forcing or putting leverage into the twist, just letting the hands rest where they are. So there's no sense of forcing this at all. Great, let's come back to the center. We're going to add another forward bend. So coming down over the thighs, letting the head release. And then you'll inhale and lift again. And then again, forward, letting the head release. Let the crown of your head drop toward the ground. And one more time here. So again, you're welcome to continue moving dynamically a few more times, or you can stay. So either hands or forearms on your thighs. If you're on the ground, you might place your hands on the ground to hold yourself. You can bring your chest right to your thighs if that's available to you. Any forward bend that works for you. And then as you stay there, take a few breaths and see if you can imagine and perhaps even feel the breath moving in the back side of your body, between your shoulder blades, around your rib cage, perhaps even into the lower back, the hips. When you're ready to come up, you might find it helpful to bring your hands first to your thighs to help support you as you come up, or you might just come all the way up at once, and then we'll lift the arms. Big breath in, and then reach out to your sides, circle around. Let's bring the palms together in front. Put a little pressure into the hands so you feel your arms and chest muscles start to engage. And then lifting up with the breath in. And exhale as you circle around. And it's always, always optional to coordinate with the breath, but it's not optional to breathe. As long as you're breathing, you're doing it right. And a couple more like that. Wonderful. And then letting the arms come back. We'll do one more little brief check-in before we change positions. So hands can rest on the thighs or the lap. And again, noticing from the sit bones to the crown of the head, what sensations are you aware of now in your body? And has that changed at all from our first, second, third check-ins? And again, if you don't feel anything much, or even if you feel a little numb or disconnected, that's pretty normal too. So just notice what is there and try not to make any judgments about what you should or shouldn't feel, or what you think you should or shouldn't. So we're going to make our way to standing now. So take your time. If you're on the ground and you've been sitting maybe cross-legged for a while, make sure your legs are awake so you can do a little bit of movement there, and then slowly and eventually find your way to a standing position. I'm sharing my mat today with Chai, the Chocolate Lab. So we'll do our best to share space. So when you come upright, you're going to come to a standing position with your legs about feet shoulder width apart or so, and your knees soft. So after sitting, it's been about a half an hour now, we're going to just do a little movement for the legs to wake them up. So starting with soft knees, hands on the hips, and this little circle. So kind of like what we did seated, where we were circling around the sit bones, now we're circling around the feet. So the hips coming over one foot, a little forward, over the other, and then back. You can make your circle small as we did seated, or make them bigger if that feels good for you. But really tuning in, because it's all about what you notice in your body, not what's right for me or anybody else. And then go ahead and circle the other way. And then let's come back to center, release the arms down, and bring the feet so that they're underneath the hips. So a few inches apart, wherever you're comfortable. Sink down into your heels. So now your legs and feet are like your roots going into the earth, the upper body, like the stalk or the trunk of a tree, the flower, opening at the crown of the head. I always really feel that sense of connection with the plants when I'm in mountain pose, and that vitality that comes from the support of the earth and the opening to the heavens, to the sun. So I'm going to work on a little bit of forward bending. If you find it's helpful to have a chair to limit your movement, you are more than welcome to have a chair in front of you to bring your hands to. And if you're comfortable forward bending and bringing your hands to your legs or all the way to the ground, you are more than welcome to do that. The main thing here is that you want soft knees when you come into the forward bend. So you never want to lock your knees, which can also strain the lower back. So we're going to take a breath in, reaching the arms up, bending the knees, keeping the spine long, coming forward, either hands to the thighs or the chair, or reaching down wherever is comfortable. You can let the back soften and round as you come down. But as you come up, you want to try to find that length in the spine and lift up with a nice long spine. So you can do this a few times. Again, coordinating the breath is optional. If you choose to coordinate your breath, you're going to inhale as you lift. You can straighten the legs as you lift. Exhale, bending the knees to come forward. Try to let your head relax. Okay, this time, you're welcome to stay. Again, if it feels better to move dynamically, that's always an option. So staying, hands could be on the chair, the thighs. You could bring your elbows to your thighs, let your head release, or maybe the arms hang down, or you fold your elbows, whatever positions. There's lots of options here, whatever works for you. Taking a few breaths, adjust your position if you find it doesn't feel quite right, to find what's really honoring your body this morning. And then again, as you're ready, you come all the way up. And exhale to release. Great. So I like to work a little bit on the backs of the legs now, the hamstrings. Those are the big, tight muscles. I find it's helpful to have a chair for this one, but you can do it without the chair as well. So we're going to step one foot forward. It doesn't really matter which. If you've got a chair, you can use the chair. If not, you're going to slightly bend your front knee, bring your hands to your thigh. And then we're working on moving the front leg a little straighter and a little bent. So if your hands are on your thigh, you want to be careful that you're not forcing the knee back and hyperextending the legs. So you're actually coming almost straight. Try to avoid going fully straight and definitely avoid pressing onto the knee. So just a little bend and a little more straight, just to invite a little movement into the back of the leg. And I find holding a chair makes it really easy. Then you can keep the leg in a straighter position. Again, try not to lock the leg, right? Keep a little slight bend to let your body come forward. So again, it could be holding a chair, it could be using the wall, it could be hands on the thighs, or for some of you, perhaps even reaching for the ground or blocks if you have them. When you're ready to come up and come back upright and bring your feet together, pause for a moment. So back in mountain pose, see if you can feel a difference from one leg to the other. So I feel a little more open in the front, the leg that was my front leg, the blue leg in this case. And I feel a little bit of stretch in the calf of the other leg, the leg that was back. So what I experience may not be what you experience. I invite you to tune into what is happening for you. And then we'll try the other side. So again, if you're using a chair, you can take one foot close to the chair. The other foot is back and it's turned slightly to the side, and that's so that the whole foot can be on the ground and you can feel well balanced here. And then it's a matter of bending and moving straighter the front leg. Could be hands on the chair, hands on the thigh. Again, you want to be careful that you're not hyperextending or pressing back against your knee. If you're holding a chair and you want more stretch, you're just going to lean forward a little more toward the chair. So you can modify this to give yourself a stretch that feels just right for you. Again, you have the invitation to come forward and stay for a few breaths. You have also the option of continuing to move forward and back in this position. And then again, as you're ready, you'll slowly lift back upright. We'll bring the legs together, feet side by side. And again, take a moment to notice, what are you aware of now? Great. I'm going to invite you into another forward bend to bring the hips and the legs back to a feeling of alignment after that asymmetrical movement for the legs. So take a breath in and reach up. Okay. You can either bring your hands to the chair as you come forward or reach towards the legs or the floor. Again, lifting with the breath in and exhaling forward. Again, you have the invitation to stay for a few breaths or continue to move, or if you've had enough of the forward bend, you can just come back to standing anytime. And then as you're ready, if you're in the forward bend, think about coming upright, slowly reaching overhead, and then releasing the arms to come back to mountain pose. So you're bringing the hands onto the hips, and we're going to practice walking on the spot. So starting by shifting the weight to one foot and just coming onto the ball of the other foot or the toes, and then shifting that heel down, lifting the heel of the other foot. So we're not actually going anywhere, we're not walking anywhere, just shifting the weight, lifting the heel. And then if you're feeling like you want a little bit more here, as you shift your weight, you could lift the other foot. Bring it down and lift. Bring it down and lift. And then you have all kinds of options here. You can lift the knee right up and kind of march on the spot. Or you can keep the toes on the ground. Or you can just shift the weight side to side if that feels like enough for you. So feel the muscles of your hip flexors working to lift the leg any amount. These muscles in front. Good. And then if you're feeling a little bit, say brave to balance today, you can bring one foot up and stay. If your chair is there, you can certainly hold on. But I encourage you to try letting go from time to time and work on balance. So feel these muscles working, so if it feels like too much, lower the leg, lower even more, maybe bring the toes to the ground, and then release. And then other side. And again, if it doesn't feel good for you to hold, if it feels like you're straining or the hip flexors are really almost cramping or really tight, then just skip this one. Okay. And then release. And give the legs a shake. Shake them out. You can shake the arms as well, just letting that go. So we're going to come back to the position we were in a moment ago where we stretched the front of the leg. One foot forward, the other foot back, foot turned to the side so that it's fully on the ground. And then turning your hips back towards the direction you were facing. So I'm facing my chair here. If you have a chair, you can face your chair, but it's not necessary. And then pressing the front knee forward so it's over your ankle more or less. You don't want to go beyond your ankle because that can strain the knee. Pressing into the back heel, lifting the heart, and then think about engaging your core a little bit. So your belly button's moving back toward your spine. The lower ribs coming towards the front of the hips a little bit, but we're not collapsing. Just feeling nice and long and strong here. And then you may feel a little bit of opening or stretch in the front of that hip. So now I encourage you to take the hand that corresponds to the front leg, you're going to bring that onto your hip. And then the other arm, reaching up and imagining a long line from your top arm all the way down through your body, down through the front of that hip, all the way down into the back heel. If it feels good for you, you can lift up and back a little bit. Please listen to your body. Good. And then we'll release. Step the feet together. Pause for a moment. See if you can notice any difference between the two sides. And then we'll do the other leg. So opposite leg forward, the Other leg is behind you. Again, the foot is turned out a little to the side. And if you want to make this more challenging, you're going to step back even a little further. So the closer your feet are together, generally the easier this pose is, or the less stretch you're going to feel in the back hip. So front knee comes over the ankle. You can engage the core a little bit. So your belly button moves back a little. The ribs come just slightly toward the hips. So it's not like you're trying to bring them together, but when we step forward and bend the knee, they tend to move apart. So we're just coming back to a neutral spine. So whichever leg is forward, that hand can just rest on the hip out of the way. The other arm reaches up. And then again, imagine that long line from your back foot, your back heel, all the way up your body to the top hand, reaching up. And again, if you want a little more, it's absolutely not a requirement. You can think about arching the back just a little bit up and back, just very slightly. And then release. And step the feet together, hands to your sides. Again, notice what you're aware of, what sensations are present in your body. Feel your heels receiving your weight, the thighs engage and pull up as you sink into your heels, and feel this little lift in the heart while the shoulders drop down, the crown of the head lifts toward the sky. Just take a moment to notice. We're going to change positions in a moment. And notice how your body feels now after a little bit more movement and some work for the legs. So let's come into one more forward bend just to balance the body out, and then we'll move eventually down to the ground from there. So taking a breath in, coming up. You can circle the arms and bring the hands to wherever they reach, the chair, the floor, the ground. And again, coming up in your own time. If you're coordinating, you breathe in as you come up, exhale as you come forward. Right, again, you're welcome to stay for a few breaths or keep moving or come right out of the pose at any time. And then whenever you're ready, slowly reaching up, taking the arms overhead, pausing here, turning the palms towards each other, relax the shoulders a little bit, and feel this long line of energy from the heels to the fingertips. This is extended mountain pose. And then eventually slowly lower the arms. Gently float down to your sides. And one more time, pause to notice what sensations are present. If you feel a little numb or you don't feel much, notice that. And then I'm going to invite you to make your way down onto your mat. So take your time. Come onto your back. Oh, good timing. Off you go in a bit then. Where you go? So as you come down onto your back, just take your time. You can let your hands rest on your belly, maybe knees bent to support a little more length in the lower back. And just let your body settle. So one way of increasing our vitality is knowing when to rest, listening to our bodies and taking the rest that we need. Sitting around too much is going to decrease our sense of vitality, but running around too much has the same effect. So finding a balance, resting when we need to, moving regularly, but taking those moments of rest in between. A few more breaths here. This next movement, the arm movement, has a lot of variations. You want to really honor your shoulders. We're going to start with the arms to the side and raising the arms up. So they could come just part way up. They could be bent and come to the sides, or if it's available, straight back overhead, but really tune into your shoulders. Don't go beyond what feels comfortable. And then as you bring the arms down, we'll bring one knee into the chest, give it a squeeze. And then releasing that foot, take the arms up again. And then other knee comes in as the arms come down. So the breath here, if you want to coordinate, you'll inhale as you reach up, and then alternate the legs coming in toward your body. Let your breathing be at your own pace. If you don't want to coordinate with the movement, that's totally fine. Just breathe at a comfortable rate, move at a comfortable rate. So we'll do one more, and then next time you've got a leg in toward your body, you're going to stay there as long as you're comfortable. Just remember the instructions that I give are suggestions. Your body is really the true teacher of what feels right for you. Always honoring the needs of your body. Holding that leg, if you like, you can extend the other leg, keeping it active, toes toward the ceiling, heel on the ground. You have the option to add some movement for the bent knee here, so you can circle around either with both hands or just one hand on the knee. Maybe even no hands if that feels better for you. No particular movement. You can circle, you can go to the side, from one side to the other, you can zigzag up and down, whatever feels good. And then when you are ready, you can release that leg, stretch it out, and stretch out the other leg if you haven't already. Take a big breath in, reaching up again to whatever position is comfortable for your shoulders. Reach out through the heels and up through the fingertips. Grow along. One big breath here. And then exhale and lower your arms down. Bend both of your knees and come back to that position we were in a moment ago. And then we'll take the arms up again, breathing in. And then the other knee will come in toward the chest, and you can hold there for a few breaths. Again, you have the option to extend the other leg, toes point up, heel down, leg active on the ground. And then again, option to do some movement with the bent knee, circling or any other movement that would feel good for you. And then as you're ready, bringing that foot to the floor, stretch that leg out, stretch both legs out, reach up with the breath in. And exhale, bring your arms down to your sides. And gently press down with the arms into the ground. Gently press down with the heels into the ground. Almost like you're trying to lift yourself up, but that's going to be a little bit more intense than we want right now. Just that feeling of pressing down with the arms and legs, breathing in. And then exhale, relax, let the feet fall away from each other, let the arms relax. Take a couple of breaths there and feel your body in this relaxed state for a few breaths. And then again, we'll point the heels down, toes up, press down with the palms, down with the arms, down with the legs. You can gently press your head into the ground as long as that's comfortable for your neck. Take a breath or two here. And then with an exhale, soften and relax. Bend both knees, bring both knees into the chest, a little rocking side to side or circling around, whatever would feel good here. Letting the feet come to the floor, taking the arms to the side. You have the palms turned up if that's comfortable for you, or whatever else is more comfortable if there's a better position. Feet a little bit apart, and then gently moving the knees toward one side. If you like, you can turn your head the opposite way, and then coming back to center and switching sides. So just a very gentle twist here. Limiting the movement if it feels like too much for you. Just a little bit side to side is fine. Or if it feels good to you, you can bring the knees all the way down to the ground. Eventually, you'll make your way back to the center, bringing your knees to the chest. Let one hand rest on each knee. And if it's comfortable for your wrist, have your fingertips pointing at your toes. And then move the arms straight so that you're holding the knees as far away as possible. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, bend your elbows, let the knees sink in toward your chest. And then inhale as you straighten your arms, move the knees away. So again, you can just do this movement and breathe freely, or you can coordinate the breath and movement together, whatever feels right for you. Maybe hug the knees in for a couple of breaths in any way that feels good to you, or if it feels like you've had enough, you can just make your way to lying position, comfortable position for Shavasana, our final relaxation. So taking your time. You can have your knees bent, you can have your legs straight, you can have your legs on a chair if you like, or with a bolster or a blanket or cushion under your knees. So finding the position that works for you. Hands can be on the ground or rest on your body. No rules. The main thing is that you're comfortable. And if you want, you're also welcome to sit for this part of the class. So if you feel like you might fall asleep and you want to stay a little more energized, then sitting might be a good option for you. Whatever works. So we'll take about 5 minutes now to let the body integrate the practice and rest, and breathe. At the end, I'll share a chant with you from the Vedas that talks about the nourishing of our lives, our bodies, our breath, our various aspects of our being, and may they be nourished. And when we feel nourished, we feel more vitality in our bodies. So coming to that still, quiet place, letting your body relax, taking the time to adjust as necessary, maybe adding a blanket or a pillow so that you're really comfortable. And then if it's comfortable for you, you might tune into the breath for a few breaths. You're not trying to change the breath now. You're really just using it as a focus for your attention. So you're watching the breath as it comes in, watching the breath as it goes. Again, if that's not a focus that feels comfortable for you, you might just feel a sense of your body resting on the ground. Feel where the body makes contact with the ground, and allowing yourself to soften and drop down into the earth. Each exhale can allow you to let go a little bit more of the holding or tension that you may be aware of in your body. Let your jaw soften and all the muscles of your face begin to relax and let go. As you let the weight of your head sink down, if you're lying down, sinking into the ground. And if you happen to be seated, feeling if you can find a balance point for your head over your spine. So there's almost no effort in holding your head up. Let your shoulders drop down, and your arms relax completely. Check in with your hands. Could you soften your hands a little bit more? Relax the fingers, the palms. As you exhale, let your rib cage soften, let the belly soften, and feel your torso drop a little, supported by the earth if you're lying down, supported by the spine and the pelvis if you're seated. And then letting the area around the pelvis relax, the muscles in the lower abdomen, around the hips and the buttocks. Softening the thighs. Relaxing down through the knees, the calves, the ankles. And releasing right to the tips of your toes. With each exhale, allow your body to soften just a little bit more. If your mind is busy, just recognize that. Thank your mind for doing its job. And come back to gently focusing on the breath or gently focusing on the feeling of your body on the ground. As you relax, I'll share with you a beautiful chant that invites and asks for nourishment for all aspects of our being so that we would feel relaxed, revitalized, that we feel fully alive through that nourishment of body, breath, the eyes, the senses, the mind, the voice, the spirit. Om Ayurveda. Om Pranandehi. Om Apanandehi. Om Yanandehi. Om Chakshurdhehi. Om Shrutrandhehi. Om Manudehi. Om Vachandhehi. Om Atmanandhehi. So if your attention has wandered, invite it back to the breath and let the breath deepen just a little bit, not so that you're forcing or straining in any way, but that you feel the fullness of the breath. You might tune in once again and notice what sensations are present. And then gradually add a little bit of movement. So wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretch and move in any way that would feel good. And then really take your time. Roll to your side, come up slowly. Find a comfortable seat again. And as always, if you want to stay lying down and that's comfortable for you and you just want to relax a little longer, that's always a nice option. Then you come upright. And take your hands to your heart. Take a moment to honor yourself for taking this time for you. Notice what you're aware of now as you come to the end of the practice. And if there's one thing that you could commit to today to help to boost your vitality, whether it's taking a short walk or committing to drinking a little more water or whatever it is that you know is helpful for you, could you commit to one tiny thing? Make it really small, almost insignificant, so it's totally doable. And committing to that thing, whatever it is, if that feels right for you. If not, just let that go altogether. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.